I first signed up for UU Wellspring about 6 years ago. I was newly non-Catholic and just exploring Unitarian Universalism. Something you should know about me is that from birth, my prime directive, the purpose of my life, has always been to be the good one, the good daughter, the good student, the good friend, the good Catholic. You get the picture. My worldview and my moral compass were so firmly rooted in Catholicism. So now that I didn't have that, I didn't know how to measure my goodness. I didn't know what I believed in or what any of that really meant anymore. Another thing to know about me is that I am a capital P planner. So when I saw signups for a 10-month spiritual deepening course, I saw a structured plan, a timeline for figuring all of this out. So I jumped at that opportunity. That first year was eye-opening. I learned so much from my fellow participants and laid the groundwork for a lot of the beliefs and practices that I still have today. I didn't figure it all out, but I was definitely on my way, and I learned that there are no answers and how to sit in those questions, which was something really new to me. I loved Wellspring so much that I signed up again and again and again, 4 years straight. I took a year off after my son was born, and then the pandemic hit. I missed it a lot. Last year, I was asked to facilitate the sources class, and I jumped at that opportunity as well, and to returning to this course material that had so inspired me. So now in this new phase of life, I was going to be reawakened. I would rededicate myself to a focused spiritual practice and then use that inspiration to be more engaged in social justice work and, change the world, that kind of thing. I was going to be the best little Wellspringer that ever Wellspringed. I started the year on plan, but just a few sessions in, it became clear that things were not going to go my way. My mother's Alzheimer's was worsening, resulting in trips to Pennsylvania every month. We had multiple quarantines due to COVID exposures at daycare, which meant simultaneous work and toddler care almost every day. I barely had a moment to shower, let alone engage in a spiritual practice or try to make the world a better place. I tried my best to keep up with the readings, and I always attended our sessions. Even though the course covers a wide variety of topics, I found myself repeatedly drawn to one message: the importance of listening to your life now. In his book, Let Your Life Speak, which is one of the books that we read in Wellspring Sources, Parker Palmer says, before you tell your life what you intend to do with it, listen for what it intends to do with you. My life was telling me over and over where I needed to be in the present moment. I needed to look up from the chaos and notice the moments of deep connection, spiritual fulfillment, and transformation happening right in the midst of it all. I started to listen for when I felt most aligned in my life, when my values and my actions worked together with my reality. I felt it when I spent the day playing with my son and filling his mind with life-affirming messages. I felt it when I fed my mom and saw the beauty of life coming full circle. I felt it when I took 10 minutes for yoga, a walk with the dog, or writing a few You the Vote letters on my lunch break. I felt it when I rested and when I spent an evening on the couch laughing with my favorite person. And I felt it when I set limits and was honest and vulnerable about the reality of my life. I don't think I would have come to a lot of these realizations without Wellspring planting that seed and then giving me a supportive community and time for it to flourish. I still lose sight of that message pretty regularly, especially when big world-changing things are happening constantly, and I feel drawn to the question of what a good person should be doing. In those moments, I remind myself of an excerpt from another Wellspring reading by Reverend Nancy Schaefer. All the little stuff adds up, and in the end is enough. Just paying attention, step by step, is enough.
So I'm going to share my experience with a spiritual advisor because that is another important part of the Wellspring journey. I was a Wellspring participant last year or 2 years ago, and then I facilitated with Chrissy this year. And the goal of a spiritual advisor is you have someone. In some ways, they're kind of like a therapist, but in a spiritual light that allows you a space to process what you're thinking about your spirituality and begin and understand and trust your own inner voice. I have met monthly with my spiritual advisor over the past 2 years. I chose her because she had a similar spiritual history as I had. We both were raised in the Catholic Church, both really pretty strict Catholic upbringings, and we both embraced much of our Catholic faith, but both have left the church because of concerns about the way the church has dealt with their abuse, the way the church has been very hypocritical in their teachings, and concerns about the institution. So she helped me deal with these conflicting views of the church. She gave me a space where I could openly discuss what I believed and was feeling about these beliefs, embrace other aspects of religion, and find that it was okay to integrate that with my Catholic faith. And use my spirituality to help guide decisions. I've had a challenging year personally at work, and Wellspring helped me kind of think through how I dealt with many of those things. This was the first time I really questioned what I believed and why, and she gave me the space to do that. I just want to briefly talk about two experiences that were really transformative with her. First, she recommended I read the Gnostic Bibles, and specifically the Gospel of Thomas. A central theme of this gospel is we all have divinity within us. There is a spark in there with all of us. This set of gospels did not make it into what we now think of as our New Testament because that was really frightening to the leaders of the church that we could all be godlike. And so it made me really think about what we believe is shaped by these man-made political people who decide what can and can't believe. It also made me think that I do have divinity within me and I have to embrace that divinity. Second, we discussed some struggles I had personally feeling with this need to do everything and solve everyone's problem. I'm like Chrissy, I'm a solver, I'm a problem solver, I'm an administrator, a higher ed administrator, and spent a lot of my time solving problems. But at the same time was feeling exhausted from solving everybody's problem. So she had me think about many of our spiritual leaders. We talked about Jesus because that was, my frame, but she said, did Jesus solve everybody's problem? No, he went in the woods and prayed. And what makes you think you need to solve everyone's problem and not take time for yourself to really embrace your spirituality? And I said, I would use the terms, I'm feeling selfish. She's like, it's selfish to not take that time for yourself. So I'm really not, I've still tried to solve everybody's problems, but I am being okay with doing what I can and nurturing myself spiritually. And that's not selfish. In fact, it's selfish not to do that. So my work with my spiritual advisor over the past 2 years has helped me reconcile my conflicting beliefs, helped me both acknowledge and say that I actually am, that Jesus's teachings are very important to my spiritual views, are very important to how I view the world and why social justice is so important to me. But at the same time, I can question the Catholic Church, I can question the institution, and I also can bring in other spiritual beliefs. I've started reading a lot of Buddhism and integrating those ideas. So it has been very beneficial for me to start questioning what I believe. And that is something that Wellspring allows you to do. It gives you the space to do. And it has really been central to the way I think, and it's helped guide a lot of important decisions in my life.